everything that you assume you know, you just don't know. And everything you assume you don't know, you end up knowing and figuring out. So to me, it's like if you're going to start a company or step into even a leadership role at a company, just brace yourself for not ever being the smartest person in the room. Embrace relying on others for that knowledge, because otherwise you'll fail.
Hello, and welcome back to season 2 of Off to the Valley, the podcast where we uncover the journeys of entrepreneurs and changemakers who redefine success across industries. I'm your host, Pratik Panda, and today we're joined by Sasha Yablonovsky, co founder and co CEO of Loanspark and former president at CareerBuilder. Sasha's journey from corporate leadership to fintech entrepreneurship is one of bold traditions, transitions, innovation, and impact. As an immigrant and a champion for women in tech, she's reshaping how small businesses access capital while paving the way for more inclusive leadership. Sasha, it's great to have you on the show. There is so much I want to talk to you about, and thanks for taking time.
Thank you. And thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Great. Tell us a little bit about who Sasha is, right? Tell us about your background. What was your childhood like? Paint a picture for everybody watching and listening so they know you a little bit better.
All right. Well, I was born and raised in former Soviet Union in USSR. My dad was in the military. My mom was a nurse there. And we immigrated to the US in 91. And it was actually just a few weeks before the coup happened, which was interesting. So, like, we were able to get out before USSR broke up. My childhood was a happy one. It was very challenging. All the horror stories about communist Russia back in the day are true. But my parents, I think, did a great job shielding me from most of it as I was growing up. So that was good. And then I came here and, I was in high school. I was an immigrant. It was a horrible kind of period for me because I think being a teenager is hard. Being a teenager when you're switching countries and languages and cultures is even worse. So that wasn't great. And then I went to college and things improved. I was speaking English fluently. I was adjusting more and I, Americanized really well. And then I got into IT because I thought it was interesting. I was always drawn to math and sciences. Um, and in IT, it was interesting because in the 90s, there weren't a lot of women in tech and not a lot of things were tech. I think everything is tech now because the sheer fact that we all use computers makes us all working in tech. But not a lot of people were in tech in the 90s and definitely not a lot of women. And my superpower became speaking human while understanding how software and systems and infrastructure works. So kind of my journey began in sort of a server room environment and then parlayed into a strategy and customer facing environment. And that launched my career. And I always tell people there isn't, like, I'm still figuring out what I want to be when I grow up because my mantra in life is whether or not you're ready for something interesting, just say yes and figure it out as you go, which is how, like, no one is born a founder. Like, here I am, a founder for the last 4 years, and I never thought I would launch and run my own company. And before that, like you mentioned, I was a president CareerBuilder, and no one is born to be a president of a huge global company either. Like, you kind of build your way to get there. So just, say yes and move on. But that ultimately launched like my journey in my career, my many careers.
That's amazing, Shasha, and thank you for sharing that mantra. I think that's absolutely true. And anybody who's done this at some point, everybody has that share of doubt and is sort of second guessing yourself. And you have to. The only way is that you go jump in
Yeah.
and figure your way out. So you learn to swim only when you put yourself in the water.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of situation. So let's talk a little bit about you. You mentioned your early career in an environment where you were passionate about tech. It got you into a server room sort of environment. Not a lot of women. I feel like even today there aren't enough women in tech, at least more so in leadership positions. But what was that situation for you? Did it make it a lot more challenging? What was the environment like? And when you compare it with today, what do you think has changed?
I think that, well, so one thing to know about me, I never looked at the world as women versus men. So, like, my dad was a colonel in the Russian military, and I was raised very like, if you want it, you can get it, and it doesn't matter. And if you're not getting it, you're not working hard enough for it. Like, that's just the mentality. So, when I was in IT here, yeah, it was obvious that I was the only female in the room. But I never even paid attention to it. The things that were obvious is the undermining when you back then and sometimes now work with men in a certain industry or environment, the men assume that you don't know as much and you're not as good. I think that's the biggest thing that I had to overcome, which is fine for my personality. I am very ambitious, and also my sign is a Leo. I think some people will be able to relate in the sense that, like, I'm not an astrologist, but I'll tell you why I bring this up. My sign is a Leo, and it's like, challenge me, I dare you, is how I'm built. So I love to put people in their place when they undermine me or what I do or my family or my kids or whatever. So my personality is very different. Like, I'm not a wallflower. So for me, it was a fun challenge in the 90s to be in a server room, building databases, managing like Unix servers, and for people around me or men around me to assume that I don't know much. Like, it was great to just show off and put them in their place. So I enjoyed it. I mean, it sucks to be undermined, but I enjoyed proving people wrong. So, and also because I don't think in terms of, oh, I'm a woman, I have to prove myself. I just think of, we're human and we're all working here. I mean, I undermine a lot of men I've worked with too, just from conversations. You know, you sometimes assume that people are not as smart or as capable, and then they have to force the hand and show if that's not the truth. So for me, I guess what I'm trying to say is I never look at it in a lens of a woman versus a man. I look at it as, I'm working with all of you. You may undermine what I'm doing and assume I know less. Great. I'm going to put you in your place. We're going to solve that very quickly. I'm going to nip that in the bud. I'm going to get the respect that I deserve from you. And then we're going to move forward. So that's kind of how I've always tackled things.
That's amazing. For people who may not have that as a natural personality, have you figured over time, like, what are some things that you could do if you feel like you are in that position?
Yeah.
What can you do when you are sort of backed into a corner?
I think there's a couple of things. So it's good to have a good support system. So back then I was single, and like my parents would always like, rah, rah, go, Sasha, you're incredible. Like, you got this. I had great friends that were like, we're so proud of you. Over time, when I got older and I got married, I happened to marry the right person for me. He is very supportive of, go do what you need to do. I'll support it. And he's very good at being like, screw those people. They don't know what they're talking about. So you need someone like that in your corner. If you don't have that and you're kind of just on your own, I always talk about the journal of awesomeness. So it's really important to write down and keep track of your accomplishments. Naturally, whether you're a woman or a man, it's easy to question your capabilities. And day to day, with big or little steps and achievements, we forget them. Like, it's a busy week. I'm not going to remember what I had for breakfast today or yesterday. Do you know what I mean? So, writing down at the end of every day, almost like journaling, what did I do well? What can I do better going forward? When you look back at your week, you realize you've actually accomplished a lot, and that gives you a sense of joy and pride that others will not remind you of. So it's good to do that, and it's good to review it every week, every month, every quarter. It helps in a lot of ways. It boosts your self-esteem and confidence because you're like, oh, I'm not that big of a loser, or oh, do you know what I mean? Like, because we all question ourselves, being like, oh, I make so many mistakes. Am I really that good? It reminds you that you are really that good. It also teaches you what you need to improve on, so it also feels more tangible and like achievable. Um, and then it also parlays, like you don't have to be a founder to do this because it also parlays into your monthly or quarterly or annual reviews with your leadership. Like you can review everything and put together your talk track to be like, here's why I should be rated 5 out of 5. Look at the things I contributed and accomplished, where I took initiative. Or if you're asking for a raise or a bigger bonus, same thing. You come prepared with, look at the things I was able to accomplish. And throughout all of these little things, you're building your confidence, your backbone, your talk track. So to me, that really helped. And I've given a lot of people this advice. Keep your book, your journal of awesomeness. Like it makes a difference.
A lot of times, like you said, we forget um, of all the awesome stuff we've done, and because while you do it you think like, okay, this is just another thing I have to do at
Yes.
work. But when you look back and see all the things that you've done over a 6 month period, a year, 2 years, it adds up really quickly, and that
Yeah.
itself can give you so much more confidence to have this conversation.
Exactly.
So amazing, great actionable advice. Let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about your current startup, Loanspark.
Yeah.
What sparked the idea for Loanspark?
Okay, I'd love to take the credit for the idea, but I can't. My co founder came up with this idea because his background is in commercial lending and lending to SMBs, and he's worked for all these companies. And commercial lending, so first of all, we're in business lending, right? Commercial lending. And consumer lending is very different than business lending. Consumer lending has a lot of regulation, compliance, rules, and laws. Business lending is still a bit of a wild, wild west. So my co-founder's idea, Mike's idea was, let's make the process super easy, super honorable and ethical. Like it could be legal, but it doesn't mean it's ethical, which is how a lot of lenders operate in the space.
Yeah.
Um, let's make it easy. Let's handhold. Let's educate the borrowers, good versus bad debt and what that looks like so they don't get in trouble. So let's help these SMBs grow and thrive because it really strengthens the communities throughout the country. We didn't want to do this just direct to SMB or direct to borrowers. We launched this partnership model where we work through accounting firms who can offer a dedicated lending channel, Loanspark, for their customers to fund their businesses. We work with payments companies who integrate and embed our technology. We work with mortgage brokerages, right, that want to offer additional services for their loan officers so they can generate additional revenue and help their customer base. So that's kind of where the idea came from. It came from, let's help, let's make it easy. What it ended up evolving to is actually a lot more interesting because in embedded lending space, for those of you and if you follow it, there's a lot of embedded lending that only does what's called an MCA, merchant cash advance, or working capital loans. It's kind of, it's great. It's a great product. It's very easy for approval, but it's limited because it's usually shorter term capital and the cost to capital is a bit higher. So we actually diversified the embedded lending. Like we do fix and flips. We embed residential investment, enabling regular people who want to build generational wealth to start investing and getting their Airbnbs or single family homes that they rent out, right? So to give them that kind of revenue opportunity. For restaurants and gyms that want to build out or move into a different location, we help them purchase that real estate. So we do a lot of real estate, embedded real estate, and we also do embedded equipment loans. So think about a restaurant again, if that's a good example. They want to update all of their kitchen equipment, for an example. A working capital loan is too expensive and not the right fit for that desire. An equipment loan will be cheaper, much more flexible, and pinpoints to the actual need. So, like, we're meeting them where they need to go. So, that's the true differentiator. Not only are we faster, our approval rates are amazing, our success rate with borrowers being happy with our loans is amazing, but it's also not just a one trick pony. Like, we're really meeting the borrowers where what they need for their business, whether it's real estate equipment or working capital loans.
That's amazing. So let's go back to that restaurant example. If
Yeah.
today, if somebody's watching and they have a restaurant, um, if they needed capital or money to buy more equipment, would they come straight to you and apply, or would they go to like a third party that has your tech embedded in it?
Ideally, they work with a vendor or provider that is already partnered with us, and that's how they would get our services. Because again, we're through a partnership model. We have had, we don't market or advertise to borrowers directly, but we have had people recommend us and come to us. And of course, we help them. We're not going to kick them out to the street. But again, just to be clear, I hope that you're working with the vendor, whether it's a payments company or an accountant, that you encourage to partner with us so we're able to work with you in that way.
Okay, that's awesome. And have you done or thought of any SaaS-based lending? Like if somebody is in a software business, I've been in the situation where we've had to borrow money and the capital terms are not necessarily good, but it gets the job done in the moment.
Yeah.
Um, have you thought of
Yep.
that as well?
Yeah, we finance SaaS companies. So it's not just
Okay.
brick and mortar. We're able to finance e commerce companies, SaaS companies. The only industries that we really can't do, which is pretty common for lending, business lending, is financial companies. If you are a financial company, there it's prohibitive. Like you can't get a loan, which I don't agree with, but it's just how it is with creditors. And then the only other ones are not for profits. We're not able to help non for profits, and we're not able to help true startups. So it's debt based lending, which means you already have to show that you're generating revenue for at least 6 months. Otherwise, we
Got it.
help all types of industries.
Awesome. That's great. So let's talk a little bit more about Loanspark itself, your journey so far. You said all these amazing things of problems you are solving, but if you were to think about a problem you are facing, what would be like one challenge that's sort of keeping you up at night?
Let me tell you, as a founder, I had no idea my first journey like this. But every founder I talk to, even if they've like run many companies, sold, exited, started all over again, every day is a different day and it poses a different new challenge.
Yeah.
If I had to pinpoint one today, it's hiring good people. So our whole mantra is automate and use AI as much as possible. Like we're not trying to grow with butts and seats. We're trying to grow in efficiency and speed, utilizing the technology that seems to be evolving every single minute of every single day. But of course, we're still a human first company, right? So we have people on our team. We're a small team. We're about 20 people, but it's like hiring the right people with the right drive, with the right culture that we're building in our small company. Hiring is always hard. I know it's not unique to startups. I think it's a challenge that a lot of companies face, no matter the size. So I would say that's a big one. Um, for a smaller company like ours, and we're bootstrapped, like we did a small friends and family round and we're able to raise money that way, but for the most part, like Mike and I invested all of our money to do this. We don't have the luxury of hiring and making mistakes because we don't
Mm.
have a lot of cushion, right? Like we're generating revenue, we're revenue positive, but we're reinfusing everything back into the company to continue to scale. So that's challenging. I think the hiring piece is challenging. The other thing I would say that really surprised me, I know a lot about a lot, but I had no idea how little I knew when I was launching a company. And I recognized my shortcomings right away. And it was interesting because everything that you assume you know, you just don't know. And everything you assume you don't know, you end up knowing and figuring out. So to me, it's like if you're going to start a company or step into even a leadership role at a company, just brace yourself for not ever being the smartest person in the room. Embrace relying on others for that knowledge because otherwise you'll fail.
That's interesting. And if you were to do something different, is there something you've learned right now that, hey, in the last few years, if I had known this better or whatever, I would have
Mm-hmm.
avoided these certain mistakes?
Yes. I would have created a different hiring profile for our sales team
Hmm.
and our ops team. It's interesting because we launched the company, it was like at the end of 2020. So coming off of COVID, and ever since over the last 5 years, the economy has been kind of up and down. So lending has gone through the ringer, and it was a fun time to launch a company, let me tell you. So I would have just created different profile for those hiring folks, like what I know now is not what I knew 4 years ago. And I think the other thing is I would have prioritized, we always prioritize quick win revenue because you have to prioritize revenue, right? Revenue is number one all the time. I would have prioritized different parts of the revenue than we did. So, like, I would have gone harder on the real estate piece sooner if I had to be totally honest with you.
Do you think any of these mistakes have sort of costed you more than it should? Or a lot of times founders ask in retrospect, yeah, that, oh, maybe, this is what we should have done. Um, do you think it's a good way to evaluate that, okay, this could have been better? Or do you think that sort of makes you feel like you missed an opportunity?
I think hindsight is always 2020, as they say, and they're right, whoever they are. Um, I would say that's a good question. Yeah, I mean, could we have shaved off maybe 6 to 9 extra months getting to be revenue positive? Probably. Um, but we ended up being revenue positive after within 2 years of generating revenue, which is pretty amazing results.
Yeah.
And could we have gotten somewhere faster as far as our scaling by about 6 months? Sure. But I got to tell you, if early on we didn't make, I guess, the mistakes that we made, we would have made them later down the road, and those would have been way more costlier.
Yeah.
So I think if you really want to put yourself down and forget the success you've accomplished, it's a good way to look back and figure out, hey, like, shoulda, coulda, woulda, like you said. But ultimately, I think we were able to sidestep the bigger mistakes nicely. So the mistakes we made were like not crucial or detrimental, if I'm being honest. So could have been worse, could have been better. And that's just how it is.
That's amazing. We talked a little bit about AI, and of course, in today's date, you cannot not talk about AI.
Uh huh.
What's happening in the lending space with AI? I remember in my last gig, I used to work for a company called Philo, and we provided a data API with basically creator data, and we
Yeah.
helped a lot of lenders who designed lending around the creator economy to get access to real first party verified data. So
Mm-hmm.
what would take, like, if you're a creator, traditional banks will not lend you money,
Yep.
and there were very few options to go raise money. Like you said, you might need equipment. A drone with a camera costs a lot of money. A good camera that can take different kinds of shots costs a lot of money.
Yep.
So, and you don't usually have access to that capital quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So we used to partner with a lot of these lenders, give them access to data through an API
Yeah.
that helped verify a creator's growth and their credentials, follower count, engagement, all of that in a very verified first party fashion. And that the realistic change was something that a lender would take a week or two to verify and look at physical documents, and then approve, now
Mm-hmm.
became a 5-10 minute exercise with
Yep.
the API. But then they implemented other AI technologies to sort of process that application quickly.
Yep.
So within 5 minutes, you could know that you are approved for some amount of money, and that
Yep.
money might expand in the next few weeks as they do a little more human verification, right? So I was particularly very amazed that it brought in a significant change.
Yeah.
What are you seeing in the lending space with AI? How is it reshaping this landscape?
Yeah, in a lot of different ways. So what we're seeing is approvals are faster because the tools that are used to scan and it's called processing when you review all the data that's
Yeah,
needed to issue an approval or assume
yeah,
credit
yeah.
worthiness of the
Your
business.
application is in processing.
Yes, all of that. I think that's faster because you're able to parse through the data faster. You're able to automatically do soft pulls on credit on the
Mhm.
owner of the business. You're able to analyze the bank statements or tax returns a lot faster. So that part is definitely speed. Um, the other thing is, I think that's helpful is internal training and internal internal training and internal processes. It speeds it up. You need less people to touch buttons and do things. Like AI and chatbots and all of that just does it for you. So that's easier. On the customer side, if there's questions, you don't need like, I mean, we offer it because part of our SaaS solution is a services built in for companies that want it, but you don't need a call center anymore to answer the phone, to answer questions about a borrower's loan or things like that. You have pretty sophisticated now chatbots that can answer just about anything you teach them to answer, as far as like, why is this approval like this? Hey, how much money am I going to get approved for? What can I pre-qualify for? So like all of those kind of things can be addressed with AI and chatbots. There's a lot more that can be done, but I think essentially what we're doing is cutting out a lot of time and lag. Like our equipment loans, we usually fund 3 to 4 days, and that's after like underwriting and like actually looking at the unit you want to buy. Like your expensive cameras, like we've already connected with a vendor, we validated it. It's like it's fast. On working capital loans, what, 24 hours? Real estate, 2 weeks, which is like unheard of. So yeah, I mean, it just speed and efficiency is what you're getting. And it's kind of amazing because every day, I mean, the technology is moving so fast. If you and I have this conversation 3 months from now, it will be different
Different.
because,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? Just because AI is just progressing faster than our brains can pick it up and understand what's happening. So, I mean, yeah, there's a lot that can be done there.
And what you mentioned previously that you have a different vision of growing Loanspark. It's not like the scale is not just through hiring more people to fill seats, but you
Yeah.
want to be more, uh, you know, uh, technologically adaptive with that, right? So, what are some AI tools that you are using? What are you using them for? How is it making life easy?
The tools we're using, I'm not the right person to answer that. But what we're using it for is, so our big superpower is real estate, and we do embedded real estate. So like embedded commercial real estate and embedded residential investment real estate, as well as embedded fix and flips. What that does is essentially a person that wants to be an investor or a business that needs commercial real estate, they're able to have a really seamless experience on their own without needing to go through a broker or a broker that's helping them. It makes it easier for them because then they don't have to spend a week collecting paperwork and reviewing it and chasing down lenders and commercial mortgages, if you will. So it really helps self serve a lot better. And it gives you all the costs and all the calculations up front. So you are aware of your affordability, how it breaks down, all of the fees that are needed. Similar to if you buy your first home or whatever home and it's your primary mortgage, a lot goes into it. And if you ask anybody, it's a pain in the butt to get from beginning to end, like from beginning to closing. Okay. You don't know with certainty what your payments are going to be until like well into underwriting and then the closing fees. And it's always a big surprise. Oh my God, I thought I needed $20,000. Now you're telling me I need $27,000. Wait, you need to do two more walkthroughs and inspections. Why? Like it's a mess. I'm not going to lie. So we've taken all of that. Now, commercial and residential investment mortgages are different but similar, but we were able to take all that and to put all of the uncertainty and clarify it up front. So it's like a super smooth, predictive process. So like that's our superpower.
That's amazing. Um, Going back to the founder journeys, right? Is there a lot of times, and this is something that I struggle with, I'm getting better with time, but it's hard to say no to certain things. And you tend to say, yeah, sure, yeah, I can help you with that. Or, yes, let's go do
Mm-hmm.
this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even as founders, there is this whole shiny object syndrome. So something hot and new
Yes.
comes out, and you're like, oh my God, yes, we have to do this. And sort of other things go on the back burner.
Yeah.
Um, how do you have you in your experience learned how to handle, or at what point do you decide to say no to certain things,
Mm-hmm.
and create that sort of balance as you're building your own company?
Okay, that's a really good question. I actually posted on LinkedIn, I want to say a month or two about this very thing, like how to be okay with saying no all the time. Here's how I do it. So early on in the days of Loanspark, you want to say yes to every customer because you just want to get somebody through the door, even if they're the wrong kind of customer for you. You want to say to everything your team is asking you to do because as a leader, you feel like that's the best type of support you can provide. But in reality, the more you say no, the better focused everybody is. And also,
Yeah.
it makes your employees stronger because they're able to rely on themselves a bit more. So here's how I do it every day. Now, listen, I'm not perfect at this. So I fall into this once in a while still. I still become the yes woman, but I rein myself back very quickly. Um, the way I do it is this. Mike and I, we created what we call action oriented behaviors as part of our culture. And everybody on the team, including us, we show up to work and for each other every day based on these behaviors that we expect from the Lone Spartan team, which is what we call the Lone Spark team, Lone Spartans. And one of the things is like, just as an example, it's everything starts with the customer. The second thing is innovate with purpose. The third thing is just fix it. So, and there's 8 of them all together, right? And the last one is only make promises that you can deliver and only never overpromise and under deliver is actually the thing. So, what that does is, and we repeat this and review this often as a team, and what it does is it really level sets. So it's like, I'm saying yes to this, but why? Is this the gadget, the toy, the innovation, the tech, the product that will meaningfully impact the revenue of our partners and meaningfully improve the work ability of our internal teams and drive revenue for Loanspark? If the answer is no, no. We're only innovating with purpose. It has to mean something. I don't want a shiny. I've worked for so many companies where product teams are like, we have this new feature. Who cares? Like, you get a press release out of it. Good for you. It's not usable. No one wants it. Then you spend years forcing your sales team to force this feature down your customer's throat just to justify the R&D cost and time you put into it. You're innovating without purpose. So Mike and I were like, we're not going to do that ever. So innovate with purpose. So when I am in a situation where someone's like, oh, can you guys do this? Like, it actually happened 3 times this week. I had a couple of partners who were like, oh, can you do this? And I paused. We could do it, by the way. But I paused and I was like, why do you need this? And then we kind of spoke about it, and one of the 3 things actually made sense. So I was like, that's a good idea. Thank you for your feedback. And now I'm working with my product team to see if that's something that we can do. And if we should do it. But the other 2 were like, I don't know, I just thought it would be nice. But how does it help you? It doesn't really, just would be nice. And it's like, well, if it's just nice and it doesn't materially help you, us, or your customer base, then great idea, thank you, but maybe not this time around. So we try to, when we get the requests, as we say yes or maybe or whatever, we try to go by these action oriented behaviors. Like, what purpose does this serve? And if it doesn't, let's move on.
I love the action oriented behavior framework. I think it's great. And for everybody who's watching and listening, I think the learning here is build a framework that works for you and that's
Mm-hmm.
aligned with what your vision and mission is. And then every time something like this comes up, revisit the framework and then take a decision rather than immediately saying yes to everything. Right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. As we are coming towards the end of the recording, I want to ask you a few quick rapid fire style questions.
Okay.
All right. What's one word your team would use to describe your leadership style?
Pushy.
Pushy. Okay. All right. It's rapid fire. We're not going to discuss it, but great. Um, what's another startup that you admire, obviously, besides your own?
Oh my God. Um, there's so many. I don't know. Pass. Let's come back to that one.
Okay. Any particular person that you admire a lot, like their journey is inspiring, or you keep revisiting some of their learnings and writings more often?
There's a lot, actually. I can't think of anyone in particular, but there are definitely some people I follow on LinkedIn. They're startup founders many times, and what they do is they really talk about all the bad stuff that no one wants to talk about and the learnings from it. And I really appreciate their candor because I'm pretty honest and candid as well.
Um, what's something you do to unwind, right? A lot of times as
Mm,
founders, we don't take enough breaks. We feel sort of guilty to take breaks.
hmm
But what's something you do to unwind? Could be a book, movie, something else.
Yeah, I'm pretty terrible at this too, but I have found ways to walk away and clear the mind. So I have a dog. I walk her multiple times per day. That helps me step away from the desk and like reset. And I typically walk her, it's only 15 minutes, three times a day, but I don't bring my phone with me. So I walk and it's nature and outside and it doesn't matter if it's winter and it's cold. I just do it. So that really helps. I love movies. I don't read as much as I should or as much as I used to. I'm not gonna lie. Like I want to get into that a lot more. But I like movies. I watch movies. I don't like reality shows, but I like shows like mini series like on Apple or Netflix because it helps me just disconnect and refocus on something that's not company related.
The dog advice reminded me of my one of my previous managers, and she had told me once, like a lot of times, as founders or even as people working for anybody else, we can constrain ourselves to a room. Especially post COVID, this became very common. Like nobody went out or whatever. It was hard to be in public places and so on. A lot of behaviors changed with that, right? And
Yeah.
you're always indoors, and that affects mental health. And I remember she told me, Pratik, if you ever feel that, get a dog.
Yeah.
They will force you to go out no matter rain or shine or snow or whatever it is. You
Yeah.
have to take them out.
You have to.
And you will realize immediately, just being outside for 5 minutes, what fresh air can do for you.
Yes.
Uh, so it's pretty cool.
It's true.
All right, Sasha, that's all the questions I have for you. I had an amazing time talking to you and so much learning in this episode.
Me too. Thank you. This was a lot of fun. I appreciate it.
Great. Awesome. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
And that wraps up today's episode. Before we sign off, I would like to thank you for your support and thanks for tuning in. If you loved today's episode, then don't forget to subscribe to this podcast and never miss an episode. Be kind, be happy, challenge the norm. I'll see you folks again for the next one.